jQuery. So this is a little jQuery tutorial. First thing you want to do is go to jquery.com, and here you can download jQuery. So jQuery is a JavaScript library that's going to let us do some things faster. And probably more importantly, if you use the jQuery library to do your HTML manipulation, your code will work on a lot of the browsers, almost all of the browsers. So you don't have to worry about browser compatibility. That is, you don't have to worry about your code running on Internet Explorer, but not on Chrome or Safari or whatever. So that's probably the main reason why you want to use jQuery or a similar library. I think right now jQuery is the most popular one, but there are other ones like Prototype and Yahoo UI and other ones. So you want to go here, and here for your deploy system, you probably want to use one of these CDN, content deployment networks. So basically that just gives you a URL. I'm going to copy that, and so you say something like script in my head, and I'm gonna load up, just paste in there that URL that I just coded, and you see, this is the Google. It's basically just saying that this jQuery library is hosted at Google, and so that means that anybody who goes to your page is going to download it from Google, which is actually a really good thing because this is going to be very, very fast. And also, there's a really good chance that they already have downloaded it because they visited another site that uses that library. So that's awesome. And but I'm gonna comment that out because you know you also probably want to just download it. Click the download link, download it to your system, put it in your project like I just did here. Simply because that if you do that, then you can edit your code offline. So you can test things out offline, and that is always a good thing. So I'm gonna do that, and it's a little bit faster also. Static, and it's called jQuery. That's 1.8.2.min. The name is min.js. The means it's minified, so it downloads faster. So that's what you have to do to get started, maybe on the head or really anywhere in the body. You want to download, put this, which will download the library. Then we can go over here and reload that. That's the HTML page that you just saw down here. And once you do, you're gonna have the $sign, and it should look like that. So most of jQuery is hidden behind this dollar function. The $sign is just a variable name. So in JavaScript, the $sign is a viable variable name. So you can assign it to anything. I can assign it to the number, to the string 44. And that'll be fine. Of course, now jQuery doesn't work because I'm going to have to reload that. So jQuery assigns to the $sign this function. And the basics of using jQuery is as such. You select things like this. So you say $sign, and then it's a function, so you're going to pass it some arguments. You pass it a string, and that string is a CSS selector. Right? Remember CSS selectors? So it's just like that. So here I'm passing it a P. The P element in HTML is a CSS selector that basically selects all the paragraphs. And you can see that the result of that function call is an array of 1, 2, 3 elements. Each one is a P element. There's one, there's the other one, and there's the third one, right? So that is the main part. The first part of jQuery is you select stuff. You can use all the CSS selectors. Like I have a class called special in my HTML here. You have this span of class special, this other one of class special, and I just selected them with dot special. You can use that notation, and then I just select both of them. And then you can also use the ID, which you'll be using a dot. So I have an ID of message and another one of content here. So I'm going to select the content, and that's going to return an array of one element because there's only one content. Similarly for message, right? So that's how you select. That's the first part is, grabbing stuff. Remember, if you did it the long way, you have to write document dot get elements by ID, right? So message. So something like that, so these are fairly equivalent, right? Document.element by ID versus just hash message. So saves you quite a bit of typing. Notice that this one, only gives you one. This one gives you an array, and also technically, this is not a DOM element. This is like a DOM element plus, jQuery plus. So it's not exactly the same, and it might be an issue later on as you start doing more stuff. Okay, so let's go over here. Once you're here, you want to click on the documentation. This is where you want to spend a lot of your time learning jQuery. Here's the main page, downloading jQuery, and here's your reference. What we were just talking about here were the selectors. There they are. And if you click there, you see all your jQuery selectors are here. You can see jQuery not just has the CSS selectors, but a bunch of other selectors that are not part of CSS. And here's where you would want to go read about all of them. There's some really good ones like the last child element, the not operator, the odd selector if you want to pick every odd one or every even one, and so forth. So check that out. That is under selectors, right? So, you don't want to do that. And let's go back down here. Once you have them, then you might want to do something with them, right? So let's check out effects, right? So it has, the basic jQuery has some very minimal effects. They're still nice. So let's go back here. I want to go back here. Let's say I'm going to fetch all the dot special, right? So I got all those guys, and then let's say I want to hide them. So that's how I do that. And you see they just hid, and I can show them back up, show, and so the inside and second word, both hid and show. I can also give it a time, make it slower. And then you see, woo, it's slowing down, and there you go. It appears a little bit slower. So you can change that. That's one of the arguments. So hide and show. And it's a little bit annoying to keep doing that. So the toggle is another one that just toggles it to hide and call it again to show. Hide and show. And so those are here under effects, right? So I just showed you hide and show and toggle. There's a few other ones, slide down and slide toggle. For more complex effects, there's another library called the Jquery UI library, which you can also download. And that one has a lot more flashy effects. But most of the time, you just want to hide stuff. Now notice, hide does not actually delete the element, right? If we go over here to elements, you will see that those special things are inside, right? So all we did was set the display to none on the element, the special elements. The other ones over here, right? So that's all we did. They are still part of the DOM, they're still in there, but they're just not showing because we set their CSS to not, display none, which means hide them. And that's why we can easily unhide them. Okay, so there's fade in, fade out, which we just did with and there's slide up, slide down, which give you a bit of well, let's just see it. So I'm going to do that on the piece slide up. It's capital P, right? Slide up. Whoop, like that. And slide down like that. So those are very nice. Those are your effects, and that's the next thing people like to use. And then finally in this tutorial we're going to talk about manipulation. So when you actually want to change the DOM, that's when you click here on manipulation and you look at all the ways to manipulate your document. So here's my document. Let's say we have this paragraph here, which I believe was had an ID of content, right? Let me see. And this is some text in the second paragraph. So let's say we want to append some stuff at the end of that paragraph. I can do that easily. I can say and space, and here is more stuff here, and I can put some tags here. Let's put done within bold, like that. So I just give it a string with some HTML and I said append that to the paragraph, which is the content, and there it is. So now we go back to elements. You see it is, and here's some stuff here got appended within that ID, right? So we did actually modify the DOM. Of course, this is only on the client, nothing is happening on the server, obviously. But we can change it. We change it like that. Now, so that's append. Sometimes you want to put things after this paragraph. So you notice that how when we did append, it actually appends that at the end, within that element at the end. So let's say we wanted to add a paragraph in between this paragraph and this other paragraph. That's fairly common. And what you do that is instead of using append, you use after. And so that should probably be another paragraph. A new paragraph is added. So there it is. A new paragraph was just added right after that one, not before the other one. So that works pretty well. So append and after are very useful. There's a remove, which you can use to delete elements. So let's say now we got sick of that content paragraph and we want to remove it, and boom, he's gone. And again, he's gone now. He's really gone from the DOM. So again, go here, click on manipulation, and look at all these. You can add classes. You can check the height. You can get the HTML as a string, right? So extract the HTML of a current element, and you can remove stuff, add classes, replace things, etc. And the val one is useful for forms, so you can get the value of whatever the user typed in a text area or an input. So, okay, one last thing is, so let's go back to here. Now, so I did all that in the console, and that was great. But notice that all this stuff happened after the whole page was loaded in, because I loaded in the page, and all this I can do all these things. So one of the things when you're starting to build your application is, of course, your code is going to be like here. So here I'm loading. So first I'm loading the Jquery module, and then I'm loading my script, which right now has nothing. I'm going to add it. Loaded. So my script is gonna say loaded, like that. So one of the issues that or problems that you run into is that if say your script here is gonna do some DOM manipulation, right? It's gonna change things. You really can only change the HTML after it has been loaded in. But the way the browsers work, remember, the browser starts loading in this HTML, then starts loading in your stuff, and these things are happening in parallel. So you don't never actually know, you're never sure if this is going to run before the HTML is there or not. So the way you make sure that your code runs after the HTML is loaded is as such. You say document ready function right here. So in here is where you're gonna put the code that is going to attach, attach things to elements, and we'll see that later, how you can attach event handlers to your DOM elements. But you're gonna put that code in here. Over here, you can do, you can say, my function. So you can declare functions up here before, right? And that's fine, right? Because I'm only declaring this function. I'm not actually running that function. So I can declare a function pretty much anytime. But there's certain things the things that I want only done after the HTML document has loaded, you have to put in here. And this is basically saying once the document is ready, it has been loaded by the browser, then run this function, and you see this function here. It's an anonymous function, and you're going to put your code here. We'll see more about that next time.